Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're doing well and enjoying your day so far. More gentleman's agreement drama going down last night, but we finally got to see a good look at the Atlanta FaZe yesterday. Scrims, they played up against Temp's team, the Houston Spartans, for pretty much the first time we've seen publicly broadcasted, and they pretty much slammed it. Temp's team has been competitive with basically everyone they've played over the last couple of weeks, but FaZe are clearly a different gravy to such an extent that in the final map of the series, Temp decided enough was enough and got right out of a high-rise control, in which I'm pretty sure FaZe didn't even lose any lives in the final rounds. Can anyone feasibly beat this team in the early part of this season? Very much interested your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. Firstly, this was interesting, I thought, that Brian Saint tweeted out of Clayster doing a clay and somehow jumping off the map. Here he is on high rise. He goes for a jump and then I don't know if he buddy hops off the map here. Now, buddy hopping doesn't really work that well in this game, but still, apparently Clay didn't jump a second time, so I don't know what this is, and there was a few replies from other pros, and we'll see in a second, saying that sometimes they do stuff in the game that they didn't tell their character to do, but still, this is a premium Clay moment, I'm not gonna lie, and even as Simp says, almost like the times I dive randomly, but I have the dive feature turned up. I didn't even know you could do that. I need to do that, because I keep doing that all the time, but apparently, yeah, you can dive randomly even when it's off, and even as Slasher says, Preston, that being Priestahh, had the tack stance off, but got stuck in like the tack stance mode. I think if you ever get stuck in that, which has happened to me sometimes, if you press the down on the D-pad, on the left D-pad, it will fix it, but still, it's turned off, but apparently it still happens. So weird things are happening in this game right now. I just can't imagine that if this happened in, like, you know, the Champs Grand Finals and Clay jumps off the map by accident because he didn't tell the game to jump again, but it did for some reason, that would, well, certainly be kind of interesting. Clay was also discussing the gentleman's agreement drama, and there was more going on last night. Of course, they ran the flank episode, and look, there was a lot of debate on it. It was entertaining. Did they really come to any solutions? More than likely, not necessarily the case. And I'm not sure we're necessarily in the best hands as far as the pros go in terms of making the right decisions on this stuff. But there was a lot of debate on this. In theory, of course, the coach for the Legion said, actually confused how, and we'll see some premium snaking performances here in a few minutes' time. But yeah, this, to be fair, what he says is probably more eloquently than I put it when I tried to describe this yesterday. Snaking a godlike head glitch with a trophy for 40 seconds is considered godlike MVP and high skill gap, but creatively using a smoke and forcing people to use communication and teamwork around a smoke is considered lower skill gap. Now, Cinder, I don't know, he doesn't necessarily agree, and LuNii definitely doesn't agree. But as I said, okay, let's try it out. Let's see, because the pros seem adamant that the smoke's going to make the game worse. I'm not convinced, but maybe that is in certain cases true, maybe in certain cases not true. So Crowder goes into this and says they tried it in Old Man 8s, and it works on some maps. He reckons that on Invasion it works, but the problem is that on certain maps, let's say Skid Row, let's say you've only got one player with a smoke. If they die, they can spawn up again and very quickly have another smoke grenade, and that can cause, you know, a bit of chaos in certain situations. And as, you know, so Crowder just goes on to discuss the merits of this discussion and also the DDoS. And Crowder reckons that they used the DDoS field upgrade and that worked pretty well. It makes breaking hills a bit easier with trophies having a counter. There's also people suggesting, what about one trophy per team rather than just two? Look, it's an absolute mess. The pros are trying to figure out what plays the best. At least that's what they say their intentions are. Whereas whether that's always the case is another question, because you've got to remember that certain teams would potentially prefer some things in the game. Certain teams wouldn't, you know. Some teams like the ARs meta that we currently have. Some teams would prefer more of an SMG meta. And at the end of the day, the GAs are always going to be voted on, at least in parts, based on what that team thinks would benefit them, rather than what's actually necessarily better for the game as it's meant to be in theory. Octane even discusses this as well, and yeah, there was some talk about it. What about just using one smoke per team on Terminal and Invasion? Because on Invasion, breaking the Palace Hill, on Terminal, breaking the Burger Hill, or even because it goes Burger and then doesn't it go straight to like the bookshop or whatever, so you basically just hold the spawns for 120 seconds and just slam the other team. It ain't great, really. And even, you know, Plain Hill, almost unbreakable, they need a smoke. So this is what people are now suggesting. And to be fair, I think Gunless also proposed this and said, yeah, what about a smoke allowed on Terminal and Invasion and banned on the other maps? That's what they did back in World War II 2018 season for Gibraltar, GB Harp when it was known, and Ardennes Forest Hardpoints. Then we need to cyberbully DDoS into the game, because what are we doing GAing it? And this is an interesting one because I think the DDoS, I don't even know if it's G8. I think it might just be officially banned on the rule sets because the pros G8'd it, so the CDL just copied it into their rule sets. Yeah, so I just found it up real quick here, and officially it's banned. DDoS is here under field upgrades, banned in the official rule set. So this is the thing, the pros decided, oh, it's something new, bit weird, we're going to GA it, and therefore they copied it into the official rules. So even if they wanted to use DDoS, they can't right now because it's officially banned, which isn't great. Now, some definitely disagree. We saw that JCap of the Los Angeles Thieves, he was saying yesterday that, you know, as far as he's concerned, smokes always lower the skill gap, and Looney clearly disagrees with the prospect of being able to use a smoke creatively. I thought the Theory's response was quite good here, actually. He says, look, if your smoke player is stupid or bad or low IQ and is just throwing smokes in the same spot or at their feet every time, then yeah, that would lack creativity. But players that can use smokes well or creatively can actually use that to their advantage. I thought the World War II season was great for this stuff when at the end of the year in Search and Destroy, Evil Geniuses, probably the reason why they won the World Championship was because Bevel's, their head coach, and Aches and those guys came up with loads of great Search and Destroy strats involving a smoke grenade. There were many occasions on, I think it was Ardennes Forest Search and Destroy, where they'd have smoke lineups to block off like one of the areas, and they could make certain strats happen that other teams hadn't really considered, and I think that added a creative depth to the game. In that game, no trophy systems. In this game, there is a counter to smoke grenades, but if you're spawning up and dying and then spawning up and throwing 4 smoke grenades in 20 seconds as the same guy, maybe that's not okay. Maybe on some maps it's okay. I don't know. But to be honest, do I trust the pros to make the right call on this stuff? It's, you know, it's difficult to imagine that's necessarily going to be the case. But sure, people tried and people potentially failed. One positive, though, is that Accuracy did say on the flank that snipers are not GA'd. So there's been some rumor about this over the last couple of days. I know that Crone said that snipers are kind of like maybe going to be out, maybe not exactly. Seems like they are going to be technically allowed for now. And of course, Eights tweets this out, and, you know, he's, you know, very close with Lamar Accuracy in person. So I imagine that this is probably going to be true, at least for now. So hopefully they hold off on that one. But let's talk about some scrims, because yesterday it was very interesting to see how teams were getting on. On paper, the top 4 teams should be the top 4 teams. I don't know how good OpTic are going to be by the start of the season, but you'd expect them to improve. But they've been, you know, splitting maps with Temp's team over the last couple of days. Of course, New York should also be up there. They played Mohawk's team and it was, you know, pretty close. They lost the first map. After that, they won the other maps in the series. The Karachi was 250-249. The Skid Row was close. The Sub Base was pretty competitive as well. And then the Terminal and the Invasion were also close maps. So, you know, New York won this, the 6 maps they played 5-1 or whatever, but it wasn't exactly a bloodbath necessarily. But a slightly different story when FaZe come to play, and I think it's been relatively clear since the early days of this game that FaZe are potentially the team to beat again. I mean, it shouldn't be a massive surprise. FaZe have been number 1 of the standings for the last 4 years in a row. They're going to be incredibly good. Their scrim performances are always incredible. I know that EasyMac has tracked this over the years he was working with them, and just like every year, the amount of scrim maps they lose is just so small, it's ridiculous. And I know that we talk about OpTic being a great scrim team and great online team, which is, you know, which is also true in general, but we tend to see more of OpTic, and we tend to hear more about OpTic than we necessarily do about FaZe. And FaZe, I think, have always kind of been the team to beat in scrims, and it seems to be the same case this year again. As I said the other day, the start of the season, that's really the best chance for other teams to mix it up for, you know, maybe surprise packages to turn up at the first event, a Carolina, a Surge, you know, a Thieves or whatever, and try and mix things up. But right now, FaZe look, well, very difficult to stop, it's got to be said, because we have seen the Houston Spartans, that's Temp's team, Spart's team, TJ Prelude, play against OpTic, play against so many other teams, and split maps or be competitive, and in the early days, Temp's team were generally beating OpTic. The last couple of times they've played, it's been more 50-50 splits. But it's only FaZe that do these scoreboards, as far as I'm concerned. Like, I've seen a couple of scrims of FaZe over the last couple of weeks. We don't see many because they don't broadcast them. Only when they play teams like Temp's roster, we actually get to see what's going on. But every time I've seen a FaZe scrim, the numbers are something like this. And I know there's questions when the maps are very close. We see lots of teams playing very close against each other. 250, 230, 250, 249 or whatever. We saw even in that New York Subliners versus Mohawk's team scrim. So then people wonder, oh, is there even a skill gap in this game? Clearly there's a bit of a skill gap in this game, because right now FaZe are just crushing it. And these are the 4 hard points they played. They might have played 5 actually, but I don't think we saw the 5th one necessarily here, at least, well, JurNii didn't tweet it out, but it kind of gets the the point across anyway, that Invasion was a 100-point club, Subbase was a 100-point club. Like, that is incredibly hard to do. That is probably the most impressive as far as I'm concerned. Just this Subbase map, to even get to 250 is a challenge on Subbase. To 100-point club the other team and get to 250 quite comfortably is different level. And yeah, Simp 32 in 16 here. We know going into this game, it was a big talking point going into this game that Simp should be back in business this year. With the way the time to kill is, the way the game is playing, it should be a good year for Simp, I think. And, well, it definitely seems that that's the case so far. aBeZy has like 2 minutes in Hill. That was a crushing victory for them. And even the Terminal, I mean, 250 to 104. Simp's 20 and 8 were 2 minutes in Hill. I mean, and that's Simp, you know, that's not even counting Cellium being double positive as well. aBeZy has 9 kills and they've won by a mile. So it's a bit scary, especially when we start to talk about control. So I'll just share this clip here and then we'll discuss it from the final map they played.
Don't drop 5, bro.
Bro, I'm dropping 5. Bro, he's on every heady. I just spawned up. You guys are walking on spawn, getting double naded. You guys are we're literally walking on spawn. I'm gonna get double naded, bro. What? Bro, I don't have a trophy. I have 5 kills.
It's over, bro. We can't recharge.
5 kills. How the f am I gonna have a trophy?
We are awful, bro. We are awful.
What?
Yeah, we're awful.
I have 5 kills. How am I gonna have a trophy off the break? Like, bro, what the f am I hearing, bro? Go underground.
He just has no idea what underground is.
Bro, we just got shut on so bad. We just got put in the Bermuda.
Bro, I just put on TikTok. I swear to God. I'm out, bro. I'm out. I'm not even giving them dub. Like, he's just farming me. Like, why is he still even doing it? Like, he's so f***ed up.
Bro, nah. I'm actually losing it, bro.
Bro, they didn't die once that round.
These guys are limitless.
So this is High Rise Control, and it's one of the maps that's technically in the map pool. And what is poor Don meant to do about this? I mean, we've got Cellium snaking this heady, and just to be clear, look at the lives here, 30 to 15. Like, FaZe have not died at all. They've come into this round as offense, they've spawned up, they've got the wave of kills, and they are spawn trapping the living daylights out of the boys here on Temp's roster. I mean, the lives is going down and down. Temp tries to kill Cell, but he's getting snaked, and there's just nothing he can really do. Temp has 5 kills, doesn't really even have well, he does have a trophy now, but it just doesn't even matter anymore. It goes down to, you know, 30 to 8 here, 30 to 6, I think, in the end. And then Temp just decides, you know what, I'm going to call it a day and get out of here, right? It's just not worth my time anymore. And look, that was one way to end the series, that's for sure, from the FaZe perspective. So Temp lost a midfield, but also he was just like, damn, what am I meant to do against that? Like, they just absolutely cooked us for the last hour and a half. Cell was snaking everything. And even just the fact that Cell is there on that just absurd head glitch, snaking it. Like, what are you meant to do in this situation? Like, this spawn trap is obscene. We've seen some crazy spawn traps on Fortress, but to be fair, this is a spawn trap on, you know, on offense, right? FaZe are doing this on the offense while they capture the points, so it's probably more difficult to set up, but at the same time, it's like, what an obscene spawn trap that they've got them in here. And to be fair, even if you killed Cellium, you've still got to get out the windows. There's still going to be a guy top, like, helicopter or whatever. Like, it's just so difficult to get out of. So I don't know if High Rise Control is any good. It's probably not. But still, I guess that it was quite a bit of work for FaZe to even get into that position to do that spawn trap. But I guess it's probably possible on the other side as well. So a little bit interesting for sure. I don't know what you guys think about this. But yeah, FaZe went on to win the Invasion Control 3-0. They won the Karachi Control in a game 5 or in round 5. And then the final map on the High Rise is what we just saw, where Temp's team would just be like, all right, fair enough. These guys are different level. So yeah, of all the scrim sets we've seen so far, this is the most dominant by quite some margin. FaZe were not even really close to losing a map in this, which is a little bit concerning for the competition because, you know, every other team that's played Temp's roster that seemed to be a very good team, to be honest, and comparable with lots of CDL teams are, you know, nowhere near where FaZe are right now. So very much intrigued to your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, take care, and I'll see you next time.